Okay, I have a picture of my daughter's dog. I blew it up to an 8x10 and printed it on my printer. And then I'm going to take some tracing paper and lay it on top. And I'm going to trace out parts of the dog's fur, looking at the different colors. Like this part here is lighter. So I'm going to trace out the different parts I think I want to cut out of the denim. And I already traced it before I realized I didn't turn my camera on. So just lay your tracing paper and then just kind of trace around the different sections you think you would like to cut out. I think I'm going to cut this all out of one piece maybe. I might change my mind later, but I'm going to cut this part out of the lighter denim and then some darker denim in here where the shadows are and darker denim here, and use this as my pattern. And I'm going to take some old denim jeans. I have these Fiskars, which make cutting denim so much easier. I'm just going to cut up the seam here. These make cutting denim so much easier. And just cut through that seam. There. Now I can lay this out and get the lightest part of this denim for the top of the head. Okay, I'm going to take and cut out this part of the pattern. So I cut out that pattern piece. And then cut out the rest of your pattern pieces. Place this down here. Just going to trace around it. And cut that out. Okay, we got that part cut out. Cut out the rest of the pieces. Ears. As I cut out my pieces, lay them on the picture to remember where they go. Okay, we have all our pieces cut out. Now I'm going to go take like this one and cut out the denim to match the different shading of colors on this picture. So do that and meet me back here. I'm going to cut up these darker denim for the darker shades of the hair. Okay, then take your pieces. Oh, I still got to cut the eyes out, but I just wanted to show you. I cut this part a little bigger than the pattern. You may want to cut them just a little bit bigger than the pattern so you can hide them under other pieces. So I think this piece will go underneath. And just kind of fool around with it to see how you want it. I think this can go. Put the ear on top of that. So you know which order you want to sew these on. And that I cut some black I had some black fabric laying around, some black denim fabric, and I used that to cut the nose. And I think I'm going to do that for the eyes also. Or I could do buttons if I wanted. I'm still playing around with it to see what buttons I could use. I think I'll put the ear under that, like that. Starting to look like a dog. And then after I sew it, I think I'm going to take a brush and rough up the edges to make it fray. A little more to make it more fluffy, or maybe add some more pieces in here. I'm not sure. I'm going to play around with it and see what I can come up with. I've decided to cut more pattern pieces so I can layer them up and create more fluff for the dog. And now I'm sewing the two layers together so that I can create like a chenille effect and make the dog fluffier. Okay, we've sewn this seam. Now I'm going to go the width of my foot, and I move my needle all the way to the left still, but I'm starting a little bit away so I can have a space there for fraying. So I'm going to start sewing right here with a fixed stitch or a back stitch and sew all the way around here at about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And needle stop down. threads. And meet this up to where you started, so this has a nice flow. Do a fixed stitch or a back stitch. Clip your threads. And this is what I've got so far. And I'm going to do one more little stitch around in the center. Same thing. I'm going to start right about here so that there's a big space, like at least a 1/2 inch space behind where I'm starting to sew, so it'll have like a little track all the way around. And do another fixed stitch or a back stitch and sew all the way around this circle, meaning back where you started. And just meet back where you started, do a back stitch or a fixed stitch, and clip your threads. And I'll show you what we got so far. And you can play around with this however you want to stitch your chenille or whatever you want to call this, but I thought this would be cute because now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to clip the edges and we're going to cut inside of this to create this nice fluffy little dog. So let me show you how we're going to do that. Let me go back to my cutting table. Okay, I want to show you what I've got so far. I've cut out the ears, the eyes, the nose, and the different parts of the dog. And I was just kind of playing around trying to see which one should I put down first when I start sewing this on the background. I just marked it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I sewed the nose on in the beginning. And I'm going to do the same thing with some black denim for the eyes. But right now I want to make the fluffy fur. And you saw me just do this. So let me show you how we're going to do that. Set this aside. I'm going to take these Fisker scissors. These are really good for cutting denim and saving my hand because they got a spring action. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, I'm going to do this first. I'm going to try to pull this apart so I don't, because I don't want to cut the back. I'm going to try to just, maybe I'll get in here with my seam ripper. Make sure I'm not going to the back. Just to get this started. Yeah, this is easier. So just keep cutting down the center of these little rows that you made. Do not cut into your seam. Just keep cutting down the center. There, back to where we started. And now I'm going to do, see, make sure you didn't go through. Now I'm going to do this next one, starting right here. I'm going to use my seam ripper to get me started. And then I'm just going to cut down the middle of this so this can fray also. And make it nice and fluffy. I'm not going to come away from the corner a little bit, so and make sure I'm not going through. There. And now for the outside edges, I'm just going to go around and clip up to, but not on that seam. Anywhere from a 1/2 inch to 1 inch, depending on how fluffy. I think I'm going to do about a 1/2 inch all the way around. Doesn't have to be perfect, just go all the way around, snipping the edges. And with the 2 layers here, that'll give a nice fluffy look for the dog. This would be a good good to do in front of a TV, watching a good show or movie. or watching YouTube. And you wash it in the washing machine, it'll get fluffier and fluffier the more you wash and dry it. Rub it together. You will have a mess to clean up, but that's what these are for. Use this. Clean up my mess. These are a lifesaver. It's not as fluffy as I want it yet, but it will. The more I wash it, the more fluffy, and this will go up like this. And so that way, and then I can just use this seam to sew it on. Follow this one outside seam to sew it on to the fabric where I'm going to put it. Now I'm going to go cut another one of this ear and layer it. Okay, I cut out a second piece a little bit bigger than the first piece, just for more fraying and more fluff. And then right now I'm just going to go sew right here. Just going to sew a straight stitch right about here. And then I think I'm just going to cut these up and let them fray and be fluffy like a dog. About 1/2 inch away from this one down, straight across. Okay, I sewed a straight line across this top piece of fabric. And now I'm just going to cut it up to that line. And just cut in little wonky strips. They don't have to be straight. It can be kind of curvy. Just the top layer of fabric. Like that. And then I'm going to pull this back, and I'm just going to do little clips along the edge so these can fray. And then you can fluff this back down. And this is going to be hidden like that when I do the ears, and then this fluffs up. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with the other ear and the rest of these. So this is what we got so far. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do the nose and the eyes and the rest, everything. Okay, for the eye part of the dog that's going to go under here, I cut one bigger than the original pattern for the eye part, and then I just cut out 2 black circles from this black denim fabric that I have with using my Big Shot. I cut out 2 little circles, and then I just sewed them on with black thread. And now I'm just going to go and clip the edges of this. I'm not going to sew inside of here. I'm just going to clip it. The edges. And then go around and do these edges too. There we go. That's done. And now the last one is the nose, and it's very fluffy. So I'm going to cut one bigger than this and do the same thing. Okay, I cut the second layer for the nose area, and I just sewed the black nose on through both pieces. And now I'm just going to clip these. There. I've got all this cut and ready to sew on. Okay, at this point, once you got all your pieces ready and figure out which one you're going to sew on first so that you have it where you want it, because I want the ears to be underneath the top of the head, and I want this underneath, and I want this on first and then this one. and this one on last. You can see his little eyes peeking out of all the hair. Isn't that cute? We're going to sew this to the back. I'm just going to sew it onto a piece of white cotton fabric, and then later on, after I wash this, then I can sew it onto a t-shirt or to a tote bag or whatever I want to put this on. So right now I'm just doing the technique, and then I'll decide what I want to put this on. I'm going to take this bottom piece, gonna fit. Yeah, because that'll just hang inside. So I'm going to take this bottom piece and I'm going to sew it on here. And I'm just going to go to the sewing machine and I'm just going to stitch on this same area that I already sewed on. I'm going to pin this and go to the sewing machine. Okay, I've got the first piece pinned to this cotton, or you would pin it to the t-shirt or whatever project you're going to put this little doggy's face on. And I'm just going to sew right on this white stitch I already did. And I changed my thread. I'm going to do like a navy blue thread to kind of match the denim as best I can. So I'm going to start right here. I'm just going to line my needle up with the center of my foot and just follow that line. And do a fixed stitch or a back stitch, and sew that one line all the way around. I'm sewing needle stop down, so every time I stop, the needle is down in the fabric and I can pivot and turn around these curves. Do a fixed stitch. Okay, I got this part sewn on to the background fabric, whether it's your t-shirt or whatever fabric you're going to put this on. And next will be this part, but to make sure I have it where I want it, I'm going to put the whole dog up here to make sure I got this where I want it. I want to make sure the ears come down to here. Let's come down a little lower, I think. Okay, I think that's where I'm going to sew this. And now sew this part on. Okay, I've just finished sewing this part on. I just sewed right along this white stitch line, just like that. That's all I did. See? You can see that on the back. Okay, now we're going to add the next piece. So the next thing I'm going to sew is the eyes. I'm going to pin this and go sew this. Okay, I got the eyes sewn on. I'll show you on the back so you can see I just sewed it just like that around the eyes, around the edges of where I clipped everything, just like that. And now let me pin the ears down and go sew them at the sewing machine. I'm going to sew them right here at the top on that same blue line of stitching that I did. Like these. Okay, I'm going to go to the sewing machine and sew the ears on. Okay, I sewed the ears on just right there and right there. They're still loose and floppy. Now, see where I'm going to sew this on at. Okay, I think that looks good like that. And like that. I'm going to go ahead and pin this. I'm just going to follow this stitch right here all the way around there, and under here I'm going to start here and just sew in a circle, lifting this up as I go so that the stitches will be hidden. Okay, I'm going to go to the sewing machine. Okay, there it is, all finished sewing. Isn't it adorable? The ears kind of flop. I think I like that. I'm not sure if I want to maybe tack this down underneath or not. I think I'm going to wash it and see what happens. But isn't it adorable? Oh my gosh, it's so cute. I can't wait to see what it looks like. See, this is the original dog, my sweet Stanley. This was my daughter's dog. He sadly just passed away last week from cancer. And I'm making this for my daughter. I'm just making it on this because I'm not sure if she wants it on a t-shirt or if she wants it on a tote bag or what. So, or even frame it. But anyway, I'm making this for her. Okay, I'm going to take this laundry bag and I'm going to put him in there. I'll let you see the before. And as soon as I wash and dry it, we'll be back to show you the after. Just going to put him in here to keep all the strings in one place so they're not all over my washing machine. Okay, just got it out of the dryer. Let's see what it looks like. His ears got all nice and curly. He came out so cute. Hey guys, I had another idea after I was playing around with this. I took my seam ripper and took the nose part off because I want to do a 3D effect. I'm going to take some batting to make the nose stick out a little bit more. That'll give it more of a 3D. And I'm going to sew it around the edges right here. Okay, I'm going to go to the sewing machine and sew around that. Oh my goodness, look at how much cuter this looks. I like it with the nose poking out. It looks more like the picture. Isn't that adorable? And now he's ready to go on a t-shirt or a tote bag or whatever you want it to go on. So cute. Comment below what kind of animal do you want to do. This is a cool and fun technique. Thank you for joining me today. Have a so blessed day. Bye for now. I trimmed away the white cotton fabric away from the denim dog and sewed the denim portrait of the dog onto some white corduroy fabric and turned it into a pillow for my daughter. She absolutely loved it. It's a great huggable memory for her since her dog passed away from cancer.